Hello, and thank you for joining us. This is No Soundbites Allowed, and I am your host, Michael Voss, Dragon of the Southern Tier. America is a beautiful nation. It is a wondrous nation that has survived good and bad presidents, good and bad administrations, a civil war, and world war. We have inspired millions, if not billions, around the world. And that brings us to why we're speaking with you today, something that I believe is very important. Now, before I go there, I do want to mention that if this is the first time that you've heard the program, we do long-form political commentary. And every Sunday at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we do a live stream with you on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, as long as the internet overlords allow, to share with you and to hear your comments, your statements, and your calls talking about the issues that matter to us all, because we believe in the First Amendment and the freedom of speech. So we hope that you will join us this Sunday and every Sunday at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But what about America? What is it that makes America so wonderful? What is so important about America? Well, I believe you can find it right here. And this is the Declaration of Independence. And I believe the thing that captures so many around the world is we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It's these words that mean so much to so many around the world. Not that they envy us, but that wish to emulate us. And it is something that brings hope, even in the darkest of nations, with the greatest of difficulties. In fact, if we recall, not too long ago, just about, it was October of 2019 in Hong Kong, where we saw so many people gather together, as you can see. That's right. In the land of the free and the home of the brave. Words that have inspired people, just like in Hong Kong, even as people are being oppressed by communism, that they stand up and they risk the worst dangers, being isolated, being thrown into gulags, to being killed, disappearing forever. They do this because America has inspired them. And yet, for all that inspiration, today, we're not as bright a shining light, that beacon of hope in the world. And that's a sad thing to realize. It's a difficult thing to say. I was reminded today, based on the news that we're going to be talking about in a moment, by something that was written by Glenn Greenwald, a gentleman most noted for being on the left of most political issues. And in part, his recent comment, which was addressing the violence in the Capitol, dangers in the aftermath, written on January 7th, there was a portion of that I want to share with you because I believe it applies. Quote, "One can condemn a particular act while resisting the attempt to inflate the dangers it poses. One can acknowledge the very real existence of a threat while also warning of the harms, often far greater, from proposed solutions. One can reject maximalist inflammatory rhetoric about an attack, war of civilizations, an attempted coup, an insurrection, sedition, without being fairly accused of indifference toward or sympathy for the attackers. I find that important because I believe we no longer have that in America. We no longer have that ability to disagree, to state positions based on our beliefs, our values, our understanding of the law and the world. No, instead we've come to a point where we're told what we should believe, exactly how we should think, what should we feel about various issues. And these are more and more commonly being handed down from the top to the rest of the people. In controversion of the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, instead of we the people, we're hearing we the elected elites. And this goes farther than even the elected officials in this nation. We hear this from our social media and our news media as well. It was just recently that the Epoch Times just published on January 21st that YouTube deleted portions of dislikes from the Biden videos and that they claimed that it was spam. In fact, we can see some of the tweets about this, that YouTube had been caught red-handed removing dislikes from the White House YouTube videos. Now, we can see that as the press secretary briefing was going on, which had received over 10,000 dislikes at 3:11 p.m., by 7:31, those dislikes had been reduced to 3,100. Destroying the trust of the American people in the news media, in the social media, in the institutions that are supposed to provide us with the information so that we can determine for ourselves what we feel. And sometimes what we feel will not match up with what is hoped for by elected officials and the internet giants. The fact is, free people have free ideas and free emotions, and they may not agree. And in the past, when America has disagreed with its leaders, the leaders responded by changing their approach, by understanding that they are going in a direction the American people do not want to follow. That seems to be something of the past, where we are, instead of seeing our leaders understand that they, in serving the public, must change. Instead, today we are told we, the people, must change. And that is disturbing. Very recently, on January 21st, the first day after the Biden administration took power, we discussed in some great detail the executive orders that were passed by Joe Biden and some of the consequences of that. In fact, since that time, we have seen many more people go over some of the troubling issues, the destructive aspects of the Biden administration. In particular, talking about the XL pipeline, the Keystone XL pipeline, which has been stopped, removed, gone, and taking with it thousands of jobs. Now, I know some would want to dispute, well, how many jobs could it be? It's not really thousands of jobs. Well, in fact, it is thousands of jobs. Now, some may say it's 11,000. Some have said 83,000. Some are looking at jobs that are temporary. Some are looking at the jobs that are associated with it. But in fact, even if it were one job, it is an action that many Americans disliked, and it has caused pain to the American people, both economically, internationally with our relations with Canada, and empowering those who oppose America like China. This is a problem. We went on to speak about today, earlier in the day. We spoke about how in the second day, within 48 hours of taking control of the United States as president, Joe Biden has gone and started to move troops into Syria, American troops into Syria in a civil war on our foreign land for reasons that have not been clearly explained to the American people. for a justification that has not even been mentioned to the American people. And at the same time, the news media have said nothing. So the American people are left to guess. And that is the worst decision that could ever happen. That is the worst outcome that could ever happen. Because whether we agree or disagree with any elected official, we shouldn't have to do so because we're guessing at what their intentions are or what the purpose of their actions is. Now that brings us to a very interesting question. What about when our elected officials go forth and they start changing laws, they start changing rules, they start changing America, and we have no understanding of why they're doing so besides it's political, to gain brownie points with certain political factions, affecting hundreds of thousands, if not millions, if not every American life. And the example that we provide to the people of Hong Kong, Peru, Germany, Great Britain, Canada, and the rest of the world. This is a very important thing because every nation must have rules and reasons for its actions. If we have no reason, then we have chaos. If we have no rules, we have no nation. That's a fundamental fact of every nation throughout the history of mankind. We would think this would be self-evident, but in 2021, it is not. Because in 2021, Joe Biden has signed an executive order that opens the borders of the United States, borders that define our nation, that define the limits of our rights and freedoms as opposed to other places in the world. Now, this was done because of politics. And whether you agree with those politics or not, that's something that fair-minded people can always debate, and there's nothing wrong with that debate. The problem comes when we are not allowed to debate, and when these changes are done in such a manner as to harm the nation, then we need to speak up. Let me give you an example of what I mean. Joe Biden, in his executive order, in opening up the border and shutting down the ICE, our immigration services that are responsible for taking those who have broken our laws and holding them responsible, has paused their actions. In fact, according to ABC News, they state, quote, those priorities included immigrants at the border who have arrived after November 1st, 2020, according to the memo sent to ICE. Immigrants already in the United States who pose a national security or public safety risk, including anyone convicted of an aggravated felony, are also a top priority under the new department-wide guidance. The memo to ICE makes clear that Homeland Security will not be issuing a full stop on arrests and removals, but it requires that the Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE, to report on its implementation of the new priorities, and it will require the ICE director to review arrests of anyone not already in jail. This is what our news media has told us is the effect of what Joe Biden actually signed into law. Not law, but the executive orders. Except that's not true. It's not correct. It is an aberration of the truth. Because if we were to look exactly at what was said, and we can see the Homeland Security document dated January 20th, as per the direction of Joe Biden under his executive order, we see that, in fact, there is an immediate 100-day pause on removals. And in part, it says, quote, accordingly and pending the completion of the review set forth in Section A, I am directing an immediate pause on removals of any non-citizens with a final order of removal, except as noted below, for 100 days to go into effect as soon as practical and no later than January 22nd of 2021. this is important? Because the document says that all attempts to remove illegal aliens, individuals who have broken the law to enter the United States, they are not just non-citizens, they are non-citizens who violated the law of the United States. They entered our country without permission, without documentation, without approval. That is a crime. Whether people agree with that crime or not, whether they believe that crime should be punished in the manner that is the law, is open to debate. And possibly in our Congress, that law may be changed. But until it has, it is the law. And that law requires enforcement. Because without law, there is no nation. There is just chaos. With that understood, and understanding that even with that memo, there are several flaws. Because if we look at what is aggravated felony, it does not mean, while it does cover murder, rape, sexual abuse of a minor, it includes trafficking of drugs, firearms, and bombs. It includes a violent crime, but it doesn't include things like, as in New York State, drunk driving. It doesn't cover driving while intoxicated. It doesn't include a lot of things that many people would assume would be part of an aggravated felony. Something that you would expect that those who have taken the audacious measure of breaking into our country would at least respect the rest of our laws and not further commit crimes. But that's not exactly correct, because 85% of those who are awaiting deportation at this moment have committed at least one additional crime. Now, all of this, while unpleasant, may be something that people can take with a grain of salt, or a pound of salt at that. But the news media has not been honest with the American people. And the Biden administration have not been honest with the American people. And therefore, the American people are lost and wondering, what are they truly doing? Now, let me explain very clearly what I mean by that. Today, we see that there was an internal email to ICE officers that was circulated as per the directive of the executive order of Biden and the Biden administration. And it details with exceptional clarity what is being not done in this nation. And I want to play this as it came out. This news broke earlier this evening from Fox News.
As of midnight tonight, stop all removals. This includes Mexican bus runs, charter flights, and commercial removals until further notice. All cases are to be considered no significant likelihood of removal in foreseeable future. In other words, stop sending people here illegally back to the country of origin. The official goes on to say this, and we're quoting, "Release them all immediately. No sponsor available is not acceptable any longer."
That's the notice that was sent out to every member of every department of the ICE, of our law enforcement agencies, whose responsibility is to enforce the laws as written. Individuals who are there to deport those who have broken our laws and have flaunted our justice system. Whether you agree with it or not is immaterial to the fact that they are doing their job. They are enforcing the law that exists. And we have seen Joe Biden step forward without speaking to Congress, without reaching out to the American people, and under his whim, apparently for political objectives, he has not only stopped the process, but he has released those who were in that process. And again, let's go back to the individuals that are being released, that have been directed to be released from detention. Individuals who are being removed from the American country are individuals who have committed, in some cases, a crime of violence, individuals that have committed murder, rape, sexual abuse of a minor, illicit trafficking of controlled substances, individuals that have illegally trafficked firearms and bombs, individuals that have committed theft. These are some serious offenses, and this is only a small portion of the number of things that these individuals are on the process of being deported for. Now, let me be very clear. Not every illegal alien is a criminal. That is incorrect. And not every, well, let me restate that. Every illegal alien is a criminal. Their crime was entering the United States against the law. That is a fact of law. It is indisputable. So every illegal alien is a criminal. But those who have done this are not necessarily bad people. They're not individuals who commit many crimes. They're not repeat offenders. That is not necessarily the case. Some are. Most aren't. But they are all criminals, and they do have to face their crime and be judged because of it. The thing that truly disturbs is the fact that Joe Biden is saying that there is no consequence to breaking the law, that laws are arbitrary, that some laws apply and other laws do not. And those laws that do or do not apply are based entirely on the political whims of elected officials at any given time. That is chaotic, and that is dangerous. That is not a nation, not a free nation, not a nation that has its name and its ideology praised around the world, in the darkest of dungeons, in the harshest of countries. That's not a nation that has no law, that randomly chooses which laws are enforced and which ones are not. We are in a very difficult time. Again, America is a nation that can survive a good president. It can survive a bad president. We can survive administrations that do their job poorly. But America cannot survive a lack of laws, of chaos, of what we have termed, as we see here, disastrous, utter madness. In this case, brought by Joe Biden. It is, in fact, dumb. It is, in fact, a problem. It is a problem that our news media have deleted this information, have chosen to obfuscate or just avoid announcing the fact that this is the result of the executive orders by Joe Biden that did not go through the Congress, that have not been revealed to the public beforehand, that do not match the consensus of views of the American people. Because the American people are law-abiding people. 99.994% of all Americans are law-abiding citizens. Why should we make an exemption for any group of people to flaunt our laws? And how can we expect anyone in the world to take us seriously, to follow our laws and our word when we capriciously throw it away? This is dangerous, and it has many implications, and it has many, many dominoes that fall following this decision. It should trouble everyone. Whether or not you agree with our political point of view doesn't matter. And again, reasonable people can disagree, and we can debate the merits of any law or any enforcement of a law. But we should be able to speak about this, and we should be able to think about this, and we should be able to evaluate this based on a clear, honest, and complete understanding of what is being done, what is not being done, and what are the consequences of that. We look forward to hearing what you have to say about this. Do you believe it is important that the United States citizens understand what the elected officials are doing, what the consequences are, that we need to have a clear and complete understanding, and that our news media must tell us the truth in whole without any obfuscation, without any hidden agendas. We look forward to your comments. We thank you for taking the time to listen to this, and if you have found it to be useful or interesting, please do like and share, and most of all, please subscribe and share this with others so that they can put their input on this and allow the First Amendment, our free speech, to continue unabated. And we, of course, look forward to seeing you on Sunday at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on our live stream. And until then, we thank you for your time.